This is The Spot, a production of BYU-Idaho Radio, where we talk about what you're talking about at BYU-Idaho. Today's hosts are Colin Dupuis, Jared Webster, John McSwain, Oksana, Brandon Brown, and me, Nina Shakin. The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the hosts. Today, we are talking about culture, just the blending of cultures, different types of cultures, what it's like to come to BYU-Idaho in a state that I think is predominantly white, with a lot of white students, and maybe to feel a little different or to have a hard time kind of understanding what's going on. And maybe the students here aren't always the best at including others, and maybe sometimes they are. And we just want to know the different types of experiences and things that go on as an international student. Just first, we're going to have Colin talk a little bit about the international office and what they offer. He's got their website pulled up, and he's just going to tell us some of what they do and what they offer to international students.
Yeah, so, the international office is always there for their students, making sure that they're comfortable, they have what they need to do to be successful. Something I did not know, actually, until recently. I went to their website, talked to their office a little bit, and they told me about some cool aspects to their website that sometimes overlooked. There's a section of their website that helps international students transition to American culture, because we know that can be very difficult. There's a lot of aspects to culture that people don't really think about when they go to a new culture, is how people communicate, the way that they just do day-to-day things. I think there's a section here, I wasn't sure who they had to write this one about. My favorite part is they just say, like, hey, this will happen, or this will happen, be aware that this will be happening, and some of it makes sense. It's like eye contact or like handshaking, or some people point with their index finger and make sure that's not a bad thing. One on here is funny. It says, unless there's a specific reason to close them, doors will usually be open. And I'm like, what culture is that a problem for? It's always interesting. You hear that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I wonder what culture deals with this kind of stuff. But it's really helpful because obviously there's a lot of aspects to our culture that are different. And I'm actually curious, Oksana, when it comes to like communicating, do you feel like us in the U.S. or in America communicate differently from where you're from in Ukraine?
I mean, yeah, obviously you are. I think here people do like to communicate, but it's kind of, I don't want to offend anyone, but it's kind of shallow, if that makes sense. Like back home, we definitely like enjoy our conversation. It's not obligated. You're not forced to do it. We love doing it. And we are super articulated, animated. We use hands a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit weird because we sound loud when I first came here. And then my roommates, they're like, why are you screaming? I'm not. I'm just happy, and that's how I express it. So I think we're kind of loud, more loud than you are here. I know it's kind of hard to blend because I always appear like I'm screaming.
Yeah.
Though I'm not.
Which I do not think you sound like you're screaming. So
well, I blended. Yeah. I've been here for like 8 years.
So you've now kind of figured out.
Yeah, I was like, I need to find right volume so I don't scream at people.
Awesome. Yeah, that's interesting because when you meet someone from a different country, a lot of times, the way they talk, or sometimes they'll seem like they're like angry or something. They're like, I'm not angry. Like, that's just how I communicate. Mm-hmm. And sometimes vice versa, they may see you like talking, or like how you're reacting to them talking. They may be like, are you mad at me? Like, I'm confused. Mm-hmm. So that barrier can be there, and especially can be hard for like professors, right? Because the way they communicate, you may think like, oh, they're angry with me. In reality, they're not. Like, did you ever run into that problem with like communicating with professors?
Yes, my first semester, I kind of struggled because especially here, like back home, professors are a little bit different. It's pretty strict. Like you never talk to them in class unless you raise your hand, you have actual problem or question. Here it's like open communication. And I always wonder, like there's no respect for professors, I guess. And then teachers kind of be the same way. Like they treat you as friends, I guess. And sometimes they're kind of sarcastic just to be funny. And I struggle with sarcasm. I just don't get it at all. And I was like, wow, like why is he angry at me? Like, did I do something wrong? Like, he doesn't like me. And I'd always email and say, I am so sorry. I probably said something. I probably did something. He's like, oh, no, you're fine. I didn't notice anything. I was like, okay, good. But I think because I perceive their communication a little bit different. So to me, it sounds like, oh, like they're always angry at me. Like,
yeah,
I'm in trouble. Yeah, it was kind of hard. But now I figured it out, so. It's good.
That's good.
What about the communication seemed kind of angry to you?
Like the tone of voice, like sometimes, like we always up high when we speak. We always end with the high note. Here they kind of drop it, and it's like, oh, like I guess he was angry because he kind of lowered his voice. And I was like, okay, because back home, if you lower your voice, it means like you're in trouble. Like if my mom calls me, she's like, Oksana. I was like, okay, I'm in trouble. But she's like, hey, Oksana. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, she's not angry or anything. So that's why, to me, I was like, ooh, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what the heck? Anyway.
Was there anything that you witnessed kind of as like a daily routine as in an American culture that was like weird to you? Like things that we did that you would think like, oh, that's weird. Even from like meals, like anything that you could think that would stick out to you? This can be on your mission as well because you served in Utah before you came here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, meals for sure are so weird. Like my poor companions, I'm sure they were so shocked when I cooked my breakfast. Because like you would get up here, you get cereal or granola or apple or something and just go. Back home, it's a full meal. Like I can eat mashed potato for breakfast and piece of meat.
Yeah.
Like it's normal. Here, you eat cereal and it's like, oh yeah, I'm so full. I was like, how are you full? It's just sugar. And I was like, I don't get it, you know?
Yeah.
And then lunch, you kind of eat slightly more than your breakfast. Sometimes it could be cereal again. Or even dinner could be cereal. I was like, what the heck? It's just pure sugar. And I just couldn't get it. I was like, just cook meals.
Yeah.
Like, you know, or like everything is ready-made. You just go to the store, you buy it, microwave, or you go out. I don't know. Like, it's just so different.
I have a roommate from Hong Kong, and me and my other roommate are always, we've known each other a long time, so I know that she cooks well. But we are always just like, we wish we could be more like Janice, because she like cooks all of her meals and she eats very healthy, and we'll be sitting there like having our toaster strudel or whatever, and we're like, this just seems like it's a lot better for you like than whatever we're doing.
Right.
Yeah, like I would eat salad for breakfast, or like piece of bread with sour cream and onions on top, and they're like, what the heck? I was like, it's healthy, it's good, and you're kind of full till lunch because you eat sugar in the morning and you get hungry like in an hour or so, so you constantly eat and not like good food in a way.
Yeah,
you know,
I would
it's
say
like
that's
snacking.
better for you than Captain Crunch. So,
Yeah, for
Right.
sure, yeah.
Did you like any of the sugar cereals here though? Or are you
No,
like, no?
I still don't like them. To me, it's like rocks. That's what I call them. Like, oh, you're eating rocks, okay.
Nah, Captain Crunch.
I
Still
don't
the
like-
best.
No, I don't like it.
I'm a big fan of Frosted Flakes. Like, ooh.
Yeah, I'm not
really
gonna lie.
like it.
No.
Call me an American through and through, but yeah, like a nice big bowl of sugary cereal.
I
Gets me
like
going
a big
in the
bowl
morning.
of cereal at 12 a.m. Like, I don't know what you guys, but
Low
like,
key,
you're
yeah.
snacky. Yeah.
It's like 2 a.m. You're like, you know what? I'm doing this project, this paper. I just need a bowl of cereal to get me through the next hour.
That's true. That's how it is here. I
Yeah.
agree.
You've probably seen it plenty with your roommates.
Yes. Yes.
Everyone has different, every culture has a different way of communicating. I did a international business class for a certificate, and it was super interesting because we had to like try to make a company in a different country.
I did that too. I took the class.
Oh, you did? Yeah. So you know how you have to like study that country, right? And you have to like understand how do they do business meetings, and that's the most interesting part. Like in Mexico, what I've learned at least, you know, like the lower people in the meeting will show up on time, but the higher ups might be late. But you have to be okay with that fact, and you can't be late, otherwise they'll be mad. But they're allowed to be late, and you can't be mad that they're late. It's like this whole thing, and it's like you have to be aware of that and just be ready to just almost like go with the flow. And it can be hard just to go with the flow with like culture changes. Like I married into an Hispanic family, and it's been amazing, but it's been a culture shock here and there, and I've had to get used to that. But I've learned as I just kind of just roll with the punches, you end up having a great time, and you really get to enjoy and like grow your mind. It's incredible.
One thing about that actually is pretty cool. So there's a few Ukrainians here on campus, and I had a friend from same city that I'm from back home, which is super cool. And when she was here, I would say, let's go to the park. She's like, okay. And I was like, I'm going to leave in 10 minutes. She's like, okay. So we both know it means like about 20, 30 minutes. So we both knew, I'm not going to leave in 10 minutes. And then as I was leaving, I was like, are you there yet? She's like, no, not yet. Are you close? Kinda. I was like, okay, you're just leaving. She's like, yeah, I'm just leaving. I was like, me too. She's like, oh, perfect. You know, we just know what it means.
Yeah.
Like we say, I'm going to be there in 10 minutes. So we know we're going to be more than 10 minutes. It's just so funny. Like, you know, here, I feel like people, well, I even hear people kind of come late, but they try to be on time. If you have a meeting, you try to be on time. But we're like, I'm going to be late.
That's actually one of the points they actually put in there was about timing on the the international office website. They're like, hey, make sure you understand American timing, because some cultures, and I think that was before Mexico too, they weren't really strict on like being like, hey, let's always be on time to the meeting. It was a lot more lax, which I'm like, I would probably do really good in Mexico in the business world.
And I would not.
I'm late to everything.
It's not going to work for me.
But it's a lot more lax.
Yeah, and time concept is a little bit different. Like back in Europe, we use 24 hours, so it goes like 12, 13, 14, whatever.
Right.
And then here's like 12, and that's it, AM, PM. When I first came here, I was struggled so much. Like I'll get a plane ticket that says 12:27 p.m. I was like, is it like night? Is it day? Like what is it? Like you just like put like I don't know 24. What is it? So I would call and say, I'm so sorry, I got this ticket. It says 12:27. What is it? Like day or night? And they're like, it's like p.m. I was like, yeah, I know, but what is it? In the afternoon? Oh, okay, I got it. Like I struggled so much. I would call and confirm, am I alright? So I'm not late. Anyway.
Yeah, I have a question actually. So yeah, obviously we have our cultures based on where we are from, country-wise, but does the church culture like affect that at all? Because I don't know if you are a convert or not to the church.
I am a convert.
Okay, so so when you came here, did the fact that you were a member of the church help in your blending of America at all with other members of the church in America, or did that not help at all?
I mean, it did help a little bit because we have some common values because of the church, but in general, it's a little bit different. Even our church, the structure, it's the same, but the way we conduct and do things is a little bit different. We kind of add to it. And our church is pretty young. It's only, 30 years? Not even that. So we don't have a lot of experience with the church. So we kind of do our own thing using the handbook. It's not like 100% what we teach here. And when I came here, I was like, wow, you have primary. I didn't know we have primary. Or like, oh, young women, what is that? Because we don't have people. So we never even had that. And I was like, oh, okay, like there's some cool stuff that you do, and we had no idea.
That is interesting to know. I just, the reason I thought of that, it was just because of like when you guys were talking about timing, I don't know if you guys heard the phrase Mormon Standard Time.
Yes.
So where people come like, it's a thing where, it's the same kind of thing where people like, there will be an event, whatever, and it'll start, let's say 12:30. But the joke is that people of our church like to show up late, so it's like when it starts at 12:30, they really mean like 20 minutes later or whatever, because people won't show up until late. So it's just a joke, but it's a funny thing.
So accurate though. We do come late.
Yeah. So
this is very true.
Something that I thought of. But.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you've had any, in your time here, any really like negative experiences, whether it's been with people in the school or just people who are not very respectful of your culture or just weren't super understanding.
Not really. I feel like people here are pretty good, except sometimes, and I get it, like we don't study much about, here people don't study much about geography. I mean, you do. What am I saying?
No,
I'm not calling you ignorant, I promise.
I've seen plenty of videos where people are just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
You ask, like, where's Canada? I don't know. I'm like, okay, your neighbor. Oh, okay, yeah, it's up. It's up or down,
sad that some people don't know that, but
yeah, and a lot of people, and I'm sure it's probably from the USSR era, like they still think that Ukraine is Russia. And I was like, no, they're not. So I have to always correct, like, no, it's a separate country with separate language. We have our own people. And they're like, oh, okay, but it's still part of Russia. I was like, no. And you're trying to correct, but they just they don't want to accept it because that's how they grew up thinking. And I was like, okay, whatever. So that would kind of touch me a little bit.
Yeah, and that's actually where I like to have international students here, because sometimes I will have misconceptions. Like, I didn't really know a lot about Ukraine. To be honest, I couldn't even put it on a map before I met you. I didn't know where it was. Again, I didn't study. You're not wrong. We did not study. I couldn't pinpoint most European countries unless I like the big ones.
Yeah, like famous France, Germany, England.
Yeah, right.
Eastern Europe is hard for me. So things like Slovakia or Slovenia, all those ones, I was like, I know they're somewhere. But yeah.
And they're so tiny. It's hard. Like there's 28 countries. It's hard. I agree.
Yeah. But that's why it's nice to have international students here, because they can talk about their culture, and that's why it's good to have a good environment where people feel comfortable do that, right? Because then being friends with Oksana, I've learned a lot about how things happen in Ukraine, and it was been awesome. It made me want to actually visit Ukraine.
Oh, you should. I mean, not now.
Not now.
In a few years.
But
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so important, if an international student or somebody tells you, oh, I'm not a part of Russia, I would say take their word for it. They probably
they know their
probably know what
country.
they're talking about.
They
Exactly.
probably know better than you do, right?
Right.
So it's so important to be open and really willing to learn about other people, about their cultures, and to listen to them instead of just kind of holding on to your own ideas that you already kind of have or misconceptions about people. Has that been kind of a difficulty with you with everything that's going on with Russia and Ukraine right now? How has that affected you here as an international student?
I mean, I'm obviously nervous for my family and
Yeah.
scared because I don't know what's going to happen there. But overall, I'm trying to stay positive
Yeah.
because things look better than it was. I mean, it's still not good, but
Mhm.
it's better than it was before. And it does affect me directly because I'm graduating. I was supposed to go home and I want to go home, but I can't go home. So, yeah, that's hard
Yeah.
because I miss home. I love Ukraine. You all should come in a few years.
Yeah.
What do you miss most about Ukraine?
Everything. Like from air to like everything. It's just so different. Like I talked to my friend a couple days ago and I said, you have this joke. I don't know if you ever have here, but when you go home, you're gonna kiss your own land. Like I'm gonna kiss dirt. Like I promise I will because I miss it so much. Like I'm just gonna go in the field. I'm just gonna drop dead and just cry because I miss it so much.
What about food? I'm trying to remember. What did you? I can't remember the name of it. Those dumplings we made that one time. Vareniki. Is there any foods like that you're like, I gotta have it from the source, like you miss from the source?
Yeah. So there's a thing. It's like fried empanadas, I guess, but like thinner dough, чебуреки. And I swear, I walked around campus and I smelled it. I think because I miss it so much. Like my brain's like, can you smell it? I was
Phantom
like, yes,
smells
I
are a
can
thing.
smell it. But I was like, there's no way someone's making this. Like, there's just no way. But I do miss pretty much everything from home. Like my mom's cooking,
Yeah.
the best thing ever.
There's nothing quite like your mom's cooking.
I know.
Yeah.
And they always like tell me pictures. Look, we have this today. And I was
Right.
like, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I think that's almost true of everyone. Like everybody to some extent is like, I miss this thing that my mom made, I even feel like that sometimes.
Actually, if you go to like Nicaragua and you try food there, would you miss food here?
Oh, for sure. There's probably
Cereal
Yeah.
at midnight.
I'm gonna miss my Captain Crunch. I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's foods here that I feel like I would definitely miss if I was away. Like I love like my family's very Cajun on my dad's side. In fact, they just speaking of like getting sent home pictures from home. It was my dad's birthday. They did a crawfish boil, and they sent me pictures. And I was like, oh, you can't send me pictures of a crawfish. If I'm not invited, you can't send it to me. That's not okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely foods I would miss. Like there's like just even like some of the American food that is very common here that just wouldn't be as common there. That being said, I am very excited to go try like my
Pupusas.
yeah, they have like one of their big breakfasts they do there is like gallo pinto, which is just like rice and beans with like plantains. Got
Ooh.
really big into plantains. They do like fried cheese a lot. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like this place.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's foods that I'm excited to try, and that's the big thing I'm excited for is when I go to Nicaragua is to try food. That's how I like to enjoy culture is through food.
I mean, it's part of it.
It's a big part of it. I mean, there's also like the music, the culture of the history, but like food, there's no way I feel like is more fun to experience culture than in food.
Yeah.
Like Vareniki, I haven't had that in a while. We should do that again.
We should.
That is really good. If you guys don't know, it's just basically just like, is there anything special about the dough? Is it just...
No, it's not like dumpling dough. It's a little bit different.
It is.
But
I don't know how to explain
about
it.
the same. Yeah.
But then you just take potato, you put it in there, and then you just eat it with... We did it with sour cream.
Sour cream,
Yeah, that's so good. We
Yeah, it's
we made
good.
those one night, me and my wife and her, and yeah, we devoured those.
That was good,
'Cause
yeah.
They're good. But that's what I love. I love food culture. It's so much fun.
I think it's important so bringing it back to saying like things that you that are a part of your culture that you miss and stuff. So I think it's super cool. I wish there was more opportunities for people here to see what there is out there for other people and their cultures. And we actually had something not too long ago, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, here at BYU-Idaho called Cultural Night. I don't know if you guys went to that or not. So basically what that was is that different groups of people got to present something about their culture, whether it mostly dances, and so they got to display their cultures, and people in attendance got to see those dances. And I think it's super cool that we allowed that to be, and that's something that they do every semester pretty much. I didn't get to go to this last one, but I've been to many before, and I've seen things. So you have the Mexican hat dance, so that's Mexico right there. You have people from the Polynesian areas, and they're doing their dances and stuff. It's really cool because you're getting just a small window as to like what they're about, you know? It's like, oh, their kind of music can be like really upbeat, or it's a little bit more solemn or whatever. And even go into K-pop, you know, for Korean and stuff like that. So it's super cool. For those listening, if you haven't gone yet, please go next semester if you're around, because it's super cool.
I would totally agree with that. I think of all the campus events I've been to, Cultural Night is just one of my favorites. And I tried to go this year, and I got there a little late, and it was full. Like, I couldn't actually get in. So I'd say if you want to go, try to get there on time and go, because it's super, super fun.
Yeah, so have you gone, Colin, at all to that or no?
I have. It's been a minute. I was supposed to go this semester, but then since I am an incredibly busy senior, I ended up having to go do some internship work that same day, because I was going to go to the I think they did a fashion show in the MC.
They did that, yeah. They added that to that. So
I was going to go because my sister-in-law was helping set it up, and I was like, oh, I got to go support her, and then I got wrapped up and doing projects for my internship, so I didn't get to go, which I was super bummed because I wanted to experience one more time because it's a fun event. Like, definitely go along with that. Go experience something new. There's nothing quite as rewarding as getting to experience a new culture. Yeah, you know.
So yeah, I think it's just a great way to like jumpstart that, because some people don't even know where to begin in terms of like learning about culture.
Right.
Some people are lucky, so like you married into the Nicaraguan family. I like my wife's mother's from Japan, so I have a little avenue into Japanese culture. So, but some people don't have that easy of an access to it. So just I think it's just super important that if people have either a roommate or classmates that are not from America, like I think they should take that opportunity to learn as much as they can, because after they're gone, they're just gonna go back home to wherever they're from, and they're not gonna have that direct source again, you know?
I totally agree. For our listeners, we would love to hear how you guys have experienced culture. And one way I was able to do that this week was by attending the Juneteenth celebration that happened on Monday. Because we recorded such an important episode today, we wanted to make sure to recognize this important holiday that just passed. Host John McSwain and I were able to sit down with the president of the Black Student Union, Brandon Brown, here in Rexburg, and ask him about the holiday. Here's a segment of that interview now. Brandon Brown is here, and he is the president of the Black Student Union. So just tell us, Brandon, how did you become involved with the Black Student Union? And if you know, how did it get started here?
So I guess the beginning of last year, if you would ask me this like 2 years ago, I would have never even knew what a Black Student Union was, and I never even heard about it. So my first year here, I didn't know anything about a Black Student Union, but my second year, I think in January or so, or January, February, I was actually going on a date with someone, and she invited me to one of the meetings last year, and I was like, oh, I was like, what is that? I never.
That was the first date.
Yeah, it was.
That's cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Interesting. She was like, I actually, there's like a meeting, but I don't want to miss it. But we can do like a date. I don't know. Anyway, so she invited me there, and so we go to the meeting, and since it's a new semester, they were doing new officers or leadership and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I never heard of Black Student Union. I was like, I'm Black and I want to be a part of it. So I signed up for an interview to be one of their they had these things where if they had like discussion, someone to like moderate, or like a moderator for the discussion. So I signed up for that, and I wanted to do that. And then the next event we had, it was a pretty big party, and it was pretty big, a lot of people there, and it was fun. And so, but then that's also when they started announcing who was going to be what. And So they announced it, and then they announced that I was going to be the vice president instead of the moderator, which I didn't sign up for. So they said, "Oh, we actually talked a little bit, and we want you to be the vice president instead of the moderator." And they're like, "Do you accept?" Sorry to put you on the spot. This is like in front of
You did it in front of everybody.
Yeah, this is in front of everyone.
And so what are you gonna say? No,
I was like,
yeah.
I can't say no. So I became the vice president like a month after I discovered what the thing was. So I became the vice president, and then that year it was the second year in a row we had Juneteenth, because it's now an annual thing. But the first year was led by Black Lives Matter, but then this last year it was led by Black Student Union, and I hosted last year's Juneteenth as well. And so it was the first time I hosted, but I was hosting as a vice president, and then a little bit after the event, I was doing summer sales. I'm not like pro summer sales or anything, but I was doing it. and then while I was doing summer sales, the president called, and she asked me to become the president after I got back. Actually, I was still doing summer sales when I became the president, and and so I became the president kind of overnight. I was not expecting it.
There you go.
And then this year I'm the president now, but I'm also still hosting it. But yeah, so that's kind of my history of.
Well, that's how you level up real quick, man. That's amazing.
And for our listeners who may not know, can you just explain what Juneteenth is and why it's so significant that we celebrate it?
Yeah, so Juneteenth celebrates the emancipation of slavery, or the end of slavery, for more like, if kids are listening. So it talks about the end of slavery. It started June 19th in 1865. It was kind of when the last group or last batch of enslaved people heard that they were free. It was in Galveston, Texas. And so that's really what we celebrate. And it started that same year as a celebration and has continued for over 150 years now. So, yeah.
And I could be wrong, but is this the first year that the school is giving us a day off for the holiday?
Yes. It's mainly because it just became a federal holiday. Mm-hmm. It was a state holiday for 2 years before it became a federal holiday. So Idaho's been ahead of the game a little bit. But now since it's a federal holiday, then now the school gives this the day off, or Juneteenth the day off. So, yeah.
Why is it so important that we make sure that we're recognizing this holiday and celebrating it within our community? I think really recently is when people have started to recognize this. Just as a state, it's only been 2 years, and now it's a federal holiday, which is a lot of progress. But just for people who might not really fully understand, why is it so important that we do something and have events like this in the community?
It's mainly focused on unity, and that's what we're going for. I've also been interviewed by some newspapers, so there's a lot of articles about it. So, and I've said this to Standard Journal and Idaho East News as well. Like, it's mainly just focused on unity, just making people come together and also understand people's differences and learn as well. I know it's it's a small town with, I think it's 0.3% of the population is black, and like 0.7% of the school is black, which is like 170 something students that's considered black, but there's obviously like a lot of mixed students and stuff like that. And so it just really mainly focused on bringing people together. And that's the purpose of Black Student Union, like a union to bring people together. Because when I first got here at the school, my first year, it was very different. I didn't really know a lot of people here. I made a lot of friends. Now I have a lot of friends, I guess. But my first year, I barely knew anyone, and very few people could relate to me and like understand me, and even like my thought process and my culture or my background that I come from. It was very hard for me to feel that I fit in. I had friends at that time, but none that I truly felt like understood me completely. If they're listening to this, I still love them, but So, and that's the purpose of the Black Student Union. So to make sure that people feel included, that they're understood, and that they do have a place here in Rexburg. That Rexburg has room for everyone, and that everyone can respect and hopefully love each other. So yeah.
So how do people join Black Student Union, like I definitely want to join because I just heard about it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, even going off of what Nina was just saying, is there opportunity for like people who aren't Black to, kind of just, I don't know if it's join or just like contribute to the cause, to the union? And how would they go about that?
That's actually a question. It's a really good question because a lot of people actually ask that. Anybody can be a part of Black Student Union. Anybody can be a part of, like, be an officer in the Black Student Union. It's literally just focusing on uniting people, but obviously very centered on helping Black students feel welcomed or have a place to come to in Rexburg. But yeah, anybody can join, anybody can be a part of it, anybody can be an officer as well. So it's really mainly focused on everyone can join. And I feel like a lot of people might get that misinterpretation of it. But yeah, anybody can be a part of it.
That's so awesome.
It is awesome.
Is there anything else you want to say either about Juneteenth or about the Black Student Union that you just think our listeners would want to know?
We also have an Instagram. It's called Rexburg Black Student Union. If you want to learn a little bit more, DM us over Instagram as well. If you have any questions, doubt, anything, literally just reach out. I'm always there. I'm always here to listen. And if anyone has any ideas or questions that I don't know, even controversial questions. I did speech and debate in high school. I thought it was fun. So I'm not saying to debate, but yeah, I'm willing to answer any questions. But yeah, so please.
Brandon, thank you so much for just coming and talking to us, and hopefully our listeners will support the Black Student Union and just get involved with helping people feel more welcome in this community.
Perfect. Thank you.
You've been listening to The Spot, a production of BYU-Idaho Radio. Today's hosts were Colin Dupuis, Jared Webster, John McSwain, Oksana, Brandon Brown, and me, Nina Shakin. The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the hosts. This episode was edited by me, Nina Shakin. Producers were the hosts with supervision by Brandon Isle. Our theme music is Finding Happiness by DJ Quads and The Perpetual Ticking of Time by Artificial Music. To listen to more episodes of The Spot, like and follow us on social media or visit our website, byui.edu/radio, and click podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to the BYU-Idaho Radio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get podcasts, and also leave a review of the show and leave a comment on what we should talk about next.